Hello and welcome to the British Gaming Podcast. It is the 4th of August 2015, and if you're listening to this, you found us at our new home on YouTube!
Hooray!
Hooray! We've got Richie with us as always,
Good evening.
and Terry unfortunately couldn't join us this evening, but that's fine. Um, so we are at our brand new home. This is the group YouTube channel that we spoke about. I'm also putting like a little announcement video on my solo channel just to say, hey guys, it's up, it's over here. I'll probably do that for the next podcast or two, just in case we get any stragglers that haven't made the jump.
Yeah, good
Um,
idea.
yeah, and likewise, everything goes on britishgamingblog.co.uk anyway. We also have a schedule now. Richie, do you want to give the details of the schedule and when people can expect their podcasty goodness?
Well, as far as I'm aware, I think the plan is, although you're the one who really edits the podcast, I suppose you know best, is we record them on a Tuesday, which is
Mm-hmm.
today, and I believe you're going to edit them on a Wednesday and upload them overnight for listening on Thursday. Is that right?
Yeah, so for American listeners, it will probably end up just being up really late on a Wednesday night, but for UK listeners, Thursday morning. Unfortunately, I've still got that stupid rural connection, and it takes about 10 hours for any video I ever put out to upload. Whereas Richie very kindly re uploaded all of our past videos to this brand new shiny channel, and it took you, what, about 18 minutes per video?
It was about, well, no, the podcasts were about 7 minutes each, and then the races themselves took about 30 minutes as opposed to your 14 hours or whatever it is.
I want to cry.
These are the perks of living in the city, I guess.
Yeah, although have you heard what the European Commission have planned for rollout in 2016?
I haven't. Fill me in.
These are new pieces of legislation which states that every single resident of the EU will have access to a minimum speed of 30 Mbps, and they want 50% of EU residents to have speeds of 100 Mbps. They want to roll it out in 2016, have it finished by 2017. They also want to change digital commerce so that no matter what region of the EU you're in, the pricing for digital goods, including video games, will remain consistent.
Yeah, I saw that, and that's going to take a big hit on some of the bigger players like Steam, which don't always follow those rules and don't
Yeah,
always convert their pricing fairly. $50 is not the same as £50.
it really isn't. It should be like a $50 game should be 35 quid. However, that will still happen because this ruling will only affect Europe, and naturally, America's not part of Europe.
Yeah,
Which sucks, but it goes beyond just, oh, if it's 50 in Spain, then it's the equivalent of 50 in the UK. Going beyond that, it's going to be the same across multiple storefronts. So, Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, Steam, they're going to have some difficulty competing because, they'll be obligated to put the same prices out as each other.
but it's all about the consumer. It's not about them. It's about the consumer and making it fair for them, which it's about time, really, isn't it?
But here's the thing. One, what does it do to Steam sales? It's not like PSN and XBLA are just going to go match them. And two, PSN and XBLA won't go down to match Steam's prices. Most likely, Steam will have to go up to match PSN and XBLA.
Maybe so, but it's so cheap at the moment that is that really we're really going to feel it that much? It'll be probably be better in the long term. I think. I think we might see the hit short term, and it might not feel fair, but I think it will be fair overall, won't it?
I don't see how it's cheap. Like, most games come out at $44.99 for a physical retail copy. But if you want a digital copy, $59.99. I don't understand how something with no manufacturing costs, because there's no case, no disc, no manual. Hell, most of the time we don't get a manual in the physical one now. No manufacturing costs, no shipping costs, more expensive. Don't understand
Maybe you're paying for the magic cloud
that.
storage space. I don't know.
Well, I get cloud storage through PS Plus. That's regardless of whether I have a physical or digital copy. The cloud saves are entirely separate.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. I don't know how it's going to work. Also, infrastructure-wise, that's going to be a lot of work. I know BT have been doing their Open Reach program in the UK to try and get it out to, I think, 88% of the UK now has fibre. I'm one of the 12% that don't, and it really hurts. But
Give it time. Give it time.
that's a massive physical undertaking, surely.
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? The companies are sort of reluctant about it because it's going to cost them so much money to put it all in place. Like,
Mm.
it doesn't seem like it would be a lot of work, but it's going to cost them a lot to lay like fiber optic cable or something just to your little cottage in the middle of nowhere.
Well, there are a couple of other houses around. Officially, we're a village. And besides, all the other villagers have got it. What's really annoying is the exchange nearest to me is actually not even a 5 minute drive. If I walked for half an hour, I'd be at the exchange. And it also does, and everyone's going to be able to tell where I live now. Well, actually, no, I just won't say the town name. We're sort of very close to another town. And that exchange does that other town and has been upgraded to fibre, and the town at the top of the hill has fibre. We don't, and we're using the same exchange.
Ah, it's not fair, really, is it?
No, and the reason we don't have it is because of a way leave issue, which basically means that there were some of the lines went over some private land, and we suspect it's the local farmer's land. And when BT turned around and said, right, we need to do work on these lines, they said, no, you can't come on my property to do it. Apparently, those issues have now been resolved, but now BT is saying they won't come back because they already did our area, they're off somewhere else in the country, and they're not going to spend time and money coming back specifically for us, so we're going to have to wait and sit on our hands now.
Does there no one else supply your area then? Is it just BT? Is that the only company that'll supply in your
People
little village?
supply our area, like Sky, Virgin. Well, actually, Virgin won't because we're only ADSL, and Virgin pushed all their ADSL customers off onto TalkTalk, but that's a
Yeah.
whole nother saga. There are companies who supply our area, but they still have to rent their line from BT.
Right.
So if BT haven't put the line in, then there's no line
Yeah.
for them to
Can't
rent.
use it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Fair point.
and Sky are desperate for it because that's who we get our internet through, and they're like, look, you pay next to nothing. I think it's like after the line rental, we only pay £3.75 a month for our broadband because it's not very good.
Yeah.
We want to pay for the 30, 40 quid, like 100 Mbps per second. They want to sell it to us, but they can't because the facility isn't there. They can't deliver it to us. So we're both annoyed at BT. I could have faster internet and upload more videos. Well, it's still the same amount of time to make the videos, I guess. And Sky want to make more money out of me. Everyone would benefit except BT, who still get the same line rental from Sky.
Yeah. Well, then hopefully this new legislation will work in your favour. Sounds like it's heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm really
EU
hoping.
stuff.
Unfortunately, we've got that pesky EU referendum in 2017, which is when it sounds like most of this stuff will be going down. So I hope people see the benefit of being part of Europe and vote to stay in Europe and not leave it. Which,
We're going a bit off gaming, but I can't see any reason why we shouldn't stay in the EU. I think we will. I don't think we've got anything to worry about really. I think it's one of these things where the vocal minority are always the loudest. So the
mm,
anti-EU people shout the loudest because they're the ones with the problem.
people who
People
read The Sun are always the loudest, generally speaking.
or the Daily Mail.
Oh god, yeah, that piece of tripe. Um, but no, I think it's you look at we will get back onto gaming in 2 seconds, but you look at what we're up against for world superpowers: the US, Russia, China. What they have is a hell of a lot of landmass, a very large population, and a lot of room to spread out. Like, we can be as efficient as we want, and we're not. We're a very lazy people. We can't be bothered with anything. Our responses can't be asked all the time. We're complacent as heck. Um, Anyway, they outnumber us 10 to 1. It doesn't matter how efficiently you work, you can't output what they output. Being part of Europe means that we are suddenly a large landmass with a much bigger population that can actually keep up with these other superpowers, but there we go. Um, One thing it does make me worry about, though, if the prices have to be the same across Europe and we stick with the pound as we have done, exchange rates are going to be up and down. So is there going to be an allowance for that? And them saying, well, your games are priced in pounds, not euros, so they can't be exactly the same, and that's, not entirely in line with this legislation.
Well, maybe not, but I mean, it is a different currency, isn't it? So you kind of got to expect it. That's what the exchange rate is for.
Yeah,
It's gonna have an effect on it,
it's
whether or
going to
not it'll
jump
be
up
good
and
or
down.
bad. But we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see in 2016 or 17 or whatever you said, I guess.
Yeah. There's one thing that is going on in Europe right now as we talk, and that's Gamescom, which is sort of like the European E3, although we don't really do as good a job at shouting about it. Um,
It's a little less showboating than E3, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. So Microsoft, they've had their press conference, and I believe E3 and Blizzard are doing theirs like as we record this. So we can talk about Microsoft, and I think the other players in the industry will have to be for next week's podcast.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. I
Makes
mean,
sense.
Richie, you're the one looking at whether you want a PS4 or an Xbox One. So, from what Microsoft have said so far at Gamescom, is there anything in there that's sort of tipping your decision?
The only thing really that would call out to me is Crackdown 3. I watched the video of it. I haven't seen much from Gamescom, I must admit, because I've come
Hmm.
straight home and then we've started doing this, and I haven't really had much of a chance to look. But I did watch the Crackdown 3 before we started recording, and that does actually look pretty good, especially after the letdown that was Crackdown 2.
Yeah,
So that's a big game for me, especially with I say with the multiplayer. I'm never a fan of multiplayer being tacked onto single player games. It doesn't really work.
it doesn't.
But they have started advertising whether or not they'll stick through with it. They've advertised this whole 100% sort of destructibility of the map. So basically everything is destructible,
Didn't
which is
Red Faction promise that and then have it for all of 2 levels before putting you in a bunch of corridors that couldn't be blown up?
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean it's an interesting idea, so it'll be interesting to see what that looks like at the finish when they've actually suddenly realized what they can and can't do.
So
But
what
that's a big game for me.
what happens if you destroy half the city in a fight? Surely your open world just got a lot more boring.
Well, yeah, that's part of the problem, isn't it? It depends. I suppose it depends how long the rounds. I suspect they won't be long enough, and the map will probably be big enough that it won't really be a problem. It'll just be a team deathmatch type crap, won't it? Same as always.
So they're not putting the 100% destructibility in the single player.
They haven't mentioned it. I did see that question raised in the comments, and it's
Hmm.
not. It wasn't reflected in the video. Put
Go
it
to
that way.
this.
But
You get a mission.
we'll
It's
see.
like go to this tower, kill this bad guy. Can't, already destroyed his tower.
Yeah, and I think that would be a bit of a problem, wouldn't it? If at the start of the game you could just flatten every building,
Yeah.
and that was it, and then the rest of the game was just go and see this guy. He's not hiding. He can't.
Mm.
There's physically nowhere for him to hide.
I mean, it is an Xbox exclusive that I enjoyed. I mean, Crackdown 1 and 2 I had on the Xbox 360. They were fun, but once I got the PS3, I didn't particularly miss them. It was sort of like I did everything I wanted to do with them. I'm not sure how I feel about going back for a third dip in that pond.
Oh yeah, well, I see what you mean, but I
Mm.
think it's a nice idea. I think Crackdown One was a bit of an experimental game more than anything, wasn't it?
Mm.
It wasn't a proper complete game, if you see what I mean. Like it was a good
No.
game. It was a really fun game. As you say, it was a novelty, and
Yeah.
it worked really well. Then they tried to capitalize on it with Crackdown 2, but we won't talk about that because that was awful. That was just abysmal.
I don't know. I would place Crackdown 2 as competent. It was okay.
It it was yeah, okay. It was okay. The wingsuit was fun. I'll
It
give them
did.
that.
There were certain things it said it would do on the tin. It succeeded in doing those things.
Yeah, unfortunately, it kind of sold itself as Crackdown 1, but, well, I suppose Crackdown 2.0, and it just wasn't really. It was Crackdown 1.5.
It was Crackdown 1, we polished it a bit. Oh, and there
Yeah,
are
precisely, yeah.
zombies. Yeah,
It was a
it
bit,
was.
bit of an, I want to say an HD remaster, but the original was HD, so it doesn't really work. But
Yeah.
Crackdown
Um,
3 looks like it should be all right. It looks like they've learned from Crackdown 2. So, I mean, while I might not obviously get an Xbox, it'll be interesting to see what they do with it, and I will probably be watching it, people play it on Twitch when it comes out.
ooh, might not get an Xbox. Right, okay.
Well, I don't know. You know what's been selling it to me was the Rock Band thing. I've been keeping up with Rock Band 4, and to be honest, it doesn't look as good as I hoped. I think I've got kind of rose. I think I've got rose tinted glasses on for the series. The graphics and sort of the style of it has really downgraded since Rock Band 3, and you can tell how much of an influence MTV had on getting good songs for Rock Band 3, because the Rock Band 4 setlist so far isn't great. Like it's okay. There's a few songs on there I know, and I mean, obviously part of the fun of Rock Band isn't necessarily the most popular songs. It's songs that are fun to play. I get that, but a lot of the songs on there are just kind of
Here's what I'd
quite
put to
generic.
you. You were worrying about your obviously bringing your songs across. So now you're worrying about the quality of Rock Band 4. Getting a PlayStation 4 doesn't mean your Xbox 360, your copy of Rock Band 3, or any of that DLC goes anywhere.
And
Um,
that's part of
yeah.
what sways me because that Rock Band 3 has no plans to export into Rock Band 4 at the moment.
Mm.
What's the point? I mean, I might as well just keep Rock Band 3 and play that as and when I need to, or as I want
Well,
to.
let's say for argument's sake, you went and you traded your Xbox 360 in towards the cost of a PS4. You'd get maybe 30 quid for the damn thing, if that. And that's, no matter where you go, games, CEX, even an independent store. I doubt even Psy at Regenerating Gaming would give you more than 50, and Psy is usually really goddamn generous. That's, 30 quid is what? 3 hours salary, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
It's, an hour and a half if you're doing overtime.
yeah. Well, you put it like that, it's just more. It's just worth keeping, and it's not worth selling at all.
Yeah, hold on to your Xbox 360, continue enjoying Rock Band 3 and all of the songs and instruments you've already got for that, because there's not even guaranteed backwards compatibility for the instruments at this stage. And just get a PS4, dude. We've got Rocket League, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I could get that on the PC, and I do plan to get that on the PC at some point.
I got it as part of PlayStation Plus, and it's just been. I need to get a comic done for a deadline of the 23rd of August, and if I keep playing Rocket League as much as I am, it's not going to get done.
My
Um,
brother plays it. He put a video up on YouTube of him playing it, and it
all
does
right.
just look like wicked fun. And I've watched a few people playing it on Twitch, and the Achievement Hunter guys did it, and it's such a simple idea. It's cars playing football,
Yeah,
but it just works so well. It sounds like it shouldn't work, but it really does.
it's absolute lunacy. I love it. With regards to Xbox stuff, though, if you do go PS4, you'll be missing out on Halo Wars 2. I mean, how can you turn down Halo Wars 2?
Yeah, because Halo Wars was such a brilliant first time round.
Yeah, it's like here's an RTS with a Halo skin. Okay, is the RTS any good? No. Command and Conquer in the mid 90s had deeper gameplay than Halo Wars 1.
I must admit, I've never owned Halo Wars. I didn't own it, but I have played it, and I just didn't get on with it at all.
RTSs don't belong on a console. They don't.
No, no, you're absolutely right. They don't.
No.
It just doesn't work.
Halo 5, naturally, they showed a bit of that, and they really, really want to make that an esport. Like, they had two professional teams fighting each other, and they had two announcers who were just shouting. Because that's all they seem to do in esports. They shout and they use jargon I don't understand, and I can never follow it. Especially if it's Dota or League of Legends, which I don't understand to begin with. At least Halo, I can watch a video and be like, the dude shot the dude who shot him dead won. You know,
Yeah.
that I can follow. But even then, like, the announcing was like, you're confusing me, dude. Let me just watch the people shoot the people.
Now, see,
Um,
I like Halo as a series, but am I right in thinking they've taken couch co-op out of it? Was I right in reading that?
if they have, I'm furious.
I'm pretty sure I remember reading somewhere that they had. I'm gonna have to look it up now.
That's one of the points of Halo. I mean, me and my uni housemates, we used to go pick them up at midnight launches. We did it with Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, and Halo Reach. And we would sit and we would co-op it. Oh, and Halo Anniversary, of course. And we would sit and we would co-op them on Legendary until we beat them, which usually meant we were up until, sort of 5, 6 a.m. Halo games aren't that long, admittedly. It was a damn good time, and if they've taken that away, then any interest I had is gone. Let's also remember this is 343 Industries, not Bungie. It was 343 for Halo 4, and I never finished Halo 4. I tried it just before getting rid of my Xbox 360. Didn't think a whole lot of it.
Halo 4 was all right. It didn't take a patch on sort of Halo 3 and earlier games, but Halo 4 was all right. But the ending, I don't know if you've ever seen it
Nope.
because I know you haven't played it. It's very, very anticlimactic, very much so. I suggest
Oh
you go and
dear.
watch it after this, just to put your mind at ease, really, and you'll see what I mean. But I've looked up this co-op, and local co-op is not going to be available for Halo 5.
Then
But
Halo 5 can get out.
they did say never. It's possible in the future, but which basically means no, we don't
We
plan to do
might
it.
patch it in. Please
If
buy
there
the game anyway on
if there's
false
enough of an
pretenses.
outcry, we
Yeah.
might put it in.
If you're angry enough, if we don't sell enough copies.
But
Which
yeah, I mean that's a selling point for me as well. For that, no local co-op means I have no interest in Halo 5 at all.
Yeah, and like you said, Halo 4 was underwhelming. It's the same devs again for Halo 5. It looks like they're trying to shoehorn their own, like, original character do not steal kind of guy into it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it looks awful. I'm sorry.
Well, that's the annoying thing. I bet Halo 5 will be okay. I bet it will be a good game. It might not be the best Halo game, but I bet it'll be good. But it's just that the lack of being able to play with your friends, which is, as you say, it's what Halo was about. It's what it's
Yeah.
always been about. It's one of the big advantages it had over other sort of generic first-person shooting games was that it had this fantastic co-op campaigns
Well,
and
that's what
things
you
like
did.
that.
I don't think. Well, I have single player the Halos. I'm not gonna lie, but the amount of co-op run throughs I've done majorly dwarf the amount of single player run throughs I've done. And I'll tell you why I'm not excited for Halo 5. Halo 4, what I did play of it, it was the Arkham Origins of the Halo series.
I'm guessing that's not a good thing.
No, Arkham Origins was a different developer, and it
Oh
was
yeah, I
it
remember
was
now. Yeah.
yeah, it's competent, it's by the numbers, but compared to the real McCoy, yeah, it falls short. Um, you'll enjoy it when you get round to it. I believe you're now like halfway through Arkham Asylum. You'll enjoy Origins when you get there, but you'll be able to tell it's not the same people, and you won't enjoy it as. I don't think it deserves all the hate it gets, but you won't enjoy it as much as you enjoy Asylum and City.
Well, there's always going to be better and worse games in a series, isn't there? I suppose it's to be expected.
Yeah, even Arkham Knight isn't all that great. Anyway, we're getting off track. Microsoft, what else did they have? Dark Souls 3, which looks like more of the same as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I've never played either of the first two, but from what I've seen of Dark Souls 3, from this and E3, etc., it just looks exactly the same.
Yeah, with Dark Souls, it's a case of I just don't have the time.
No, I mean, it seems like the kind of game I'd probably enjoy because it's kind of slow and sort of a bit sort of horror based, which I like, but
But
I
you've
just,
got to commit. That's the problem, and
yeah,
it's
I haven't got the time, the patience, or the consoles. So,
right. Okay, that's tends to be a problem. Yeah. Well, no, there are. I believe there is Xbox 360 versions of Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2.
no, fair enough. I've got no
Yeah.
excuse then, really.
Okay. In fact, I don't think there is a PS4 or Xbox One version of Dark Souls 1. I think that is just last generation PS3, Xbox 360. So we're not particularly excited about Dark Souls. Overall, Microsoft, like I was thinking, oh maybe I'll get an Xbox One like in the future in a couple of years. I still don't have any particular reason to do that. Uh,
No, and I mean, as someone, as we've talked about many, many times, as someone who's trying to decide between the two sort of major ones,
mm,
I don't really have much of a reason to get an Xbox One either, to be honest. The PS4 just kind of neither have sort of anything that particularly makes me want either one more than the other, sort of as like a deal breaker. Like there's no way I couldn't have the other one. But at the moment, Microsoft doesn't really have much going for it that Sony doesn't have. So Sony
there
seems like a
are
sensible option.
there are some strong PlayStation exclusives, and I keep meaning to give you the list. I'm going to give you the list now verbally, and just hope you've got a pen.
But
So
Notepad.
okay, that'll do. Yeah, just don't clunk your keys too hard. Terry did that during one of the Sonic races. It was awful.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it felt like someone was stampeding down a stairway. Anyway, Uncharted 4 is on the way, and in the meantime, they've sort of remastered and re released Uncharted 1, 2, and 3. Or is it out soon? No, it's just out soon. So that anyone who didn't have a PS3 last generation can get all caught up before number 4 comes out. There's the new Ratchet and Clank game coming out. I will always recommend Ratchet and Clank to absolutely anybody. It's a fantastic gaming series, doesn't get enough praise. Get Ratchet and Clank. In fact, if you ever end up getting a PS3, get the Ratchet and Clank HD trilogy and Ratchet and Clank Into the Nexus as well, because they're amazing and they deserve to be played. Obviously, there's The Last of Us Remastered, PlayStation 4 exclusive. Infamous Second Son, glorious, absolutely shows off what the PS4 can do. Hell of a lot of fun to play, lots of superhero powers to play around with, and it's one of the few times that a video game has actually made me feel really goddamn, like, I can do anything. Um, with that infamous First Light, which is sort of like a prequel, also incredibly good. And very cheap as well, because being like a short prequel, it's only about 13 quid to pick up. Absolute steal. Um, I had a bunch more in mind. Obviously, pick up Arkham Knight for whatever you get, but that one's not an exclusive. Knack is incredibly fun for the PS4. Very, very harsh. I recommend playing it on the hardest difficulty. That game will just kill you, and kill you again, but it's very fair. Like, very clearly defined enemies, very clearly defined patterns. If you get hit, it's because you weren't paying attention, not because of any kind of bullshit, which is rare to see in a game. Harkens back to a lot of the old school game design principles from games when we were kids, and I think you'll get like a rush of nostalgia for this very new, very pretty, very colourful game. Um, so yeah, a lot of people again were like bought it with their PlayStation 4s because it came packaged in with a lot of them. And they're like, "What the bloody hell is this thing?" And then when they actually put it in, they're like, "Oh, this is surprisingly good." In fact, it made my top 10 list for top 10 games I played in 2014. Plug. So yeah, all of those games as a bare minimum.
Well, I was going to write them down, but then I realised I can just listen to the podcast again once we're done.
Yeah, you can do that. You've got yeah. You can listen back to it in 2 days' time on Thursday when it goes up.
Yes, certainly will.
Yeah. So again, people, every Thursday, that's when you can expect a new podcast. We're also gonna see if we can do the races semi-regularly. We tend to record any races we do on a Thursday, and then I tend to usually have them up on a Sunday. We're not going to formally say that that's our commitment, but that's what's most likely going to happen. The podcasts, they'll definitely be a Thursday. That will never change, unless one of us is sick or dead. But the racers will sort of wobbly say Sundays. They'll usually go up. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think one of us being dead is enough reason the rest of us can't do it. There's no excuse.
true. You do have the keys to the channel. You can always hop on and be like, "Well, Sam's dead, but here we are playing Mickey's Speedway
Yeah.
USA." Um, gloss over my death entirely. This got morbid.
We
Let's
could dedicate it to you, I suppose.
Yeah, true. Um, we are as well, sort of, with the races, we've exhausted Sonic, haven't we? I mean, that's pretty much done. Any more Sonic now would be flogging a dead horse. Done all the Mega Drive Sonics, which is pretty much all the good ones. So we are looking at other retro games we could potentially race, and what we've decided is that on a rotation, we will send a ROM file of a game because we do the races on emulators. Um, and we'll rename it, Surprise or Week 2 or something like that, so that the other two people don't know what the game is until they boot it up. And the person choosing the game is under an obligation, and we're going to trust them because we're friends and we're nice to each other, that it's a game they either haven't played in years or haven't played before at all, so that everyone's on more or less even footing. So that's going to be fun. And we'll just, like, I'll pick a game, then Richie will pick a game, then Terry can pick a game, and Terry gets to pick last because he's Terry.
Yeah, because he's normally last.
Yeah, because he keeps losing the races, exactly. Um, and we'll just sort of shuffle those around. So look forward to those in the near future. And yeah, we're just going to keep plugging.
I have to say though, if anyone does have any suggestions of games they think might be good to run, more than welcome to leave a comment and all that. I'd be quite interested to see what people think might make a good race.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching back some of Summer Games Done Quick now that most of those videos have been uploaded to YouTube, seeing what could and couldn't be good games to run. They did another Super Metroid race, which was obviously their old Super Metroid race was the one that got me wanting to do these things in the first place. So there might be some Super Metroid at some point.
I have never played a Metroid game, so that would be very interesting actually.
You'd just be like, where am I going?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the layout of those games for
Calls
anything.
back to Sonic CD of not knowing where the hell I am.
Every way is wrong.
That game was just painful. I mean, it was a good game. I enjoyed the game. If I
Yeah.
hadn't been in the speedrun setting, I probably would have had fun.
Have you gone back and played it again since?
No,
Fair enough.
no, I haven't. I should do,
Well,
just to see
speaking.
how it ends more than anything. Well, that's still I know how it ends because I watched your video, but
Yeah. Speaking of Sonic and us three being together, we are, well, me and Terry for definite. Richie, I believe you're waiting on confirmation from your sister as to whether you buy your ticket or not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she is down now. I just need to wait
Yeah.
for her to confirm it.
Well, even if she's not down, you'll come up with just Terry, I should imagine.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Yeah. So all three of us confirmed we will be at Western Supersonic. That's in January of 2016. Fantastic convention. Me and Richie went there January just gone. Had a hell of a lot of fun. They're running a Kickstarter at the moment. You can get a ticket for as little as £5 and grab one now because last time they were turning people away because they sold out. And the venue's got a maximum capacity. So yeah, we'll all be there. Not officially as the British Gaming Blog. We've not got like a panel or anything. At least we don't have a panel or anything yet. We'll talk to the organisers, see if we can get something. But we will all be there. I'll be selling my comics and artwork, and Richie and Terry will probably enter into the speedrun competitions and get their asses kicked.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't enter last year. I did watch some of it, but it wasn't. I mean, I really enjoyed myself. But the one thing, if anyone from it is listening, the speed running competition was a little bit disorganized. If it could be better this year, I'm definitely down.
Yeah, well, bear in mind, when we went in January, that was only their second year running and the first year at that venue. This time it'll be their third year running and their second year at the same venue, provided they hit their Kickstarter goal. So, I'd say fair
There's room
enough.
to grow. There's room to
Yeah.
grow. But as you said, we both had a brilliant time last year. I had a really good time, and
Mm.
I had to go a hell of a way for it as well. It's like a
Yeah.
well, from here to there, it's like 5 hours for me.
No, it's worse than that. It took you 4.5 to 5 hours to get to my house.
Oh yeah, and then about an hour and a half to get to Western Supermare, wasn't it?
At the closer to 2 hours. So
Yeah, so
all
it was
in
a long
all,
old
you were
way,
in the
long
car
old
for
way.
nearly 7 hours.
So people better come and see us.
Yeah, no kidding. Their speedrun competition was very interesting though, because you didn't just draw lots for your opponent, you drew lots for the game you were playing as well. So the people going up against each other were randomized, and the games were randomized. So you couldn't even like practice and prepare unless you were willing to play every Sonic game in preparation.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I don't actually know who won though. I don't think I was there long enough to see who won.
No, well, what I could see from, because obviously I was at my table most of the time, and what I could see was it looked like they had the TV they were playing on, and then some kind of HD splitter with a bigger TV above them for the crowd to watch on, which was a cool idea because that meant everyone wasn't crowding around the players; they were just looking up above the players at the second TV.
Yeah, I did see some of it. Yeah, I did watch as much of it as I could, but obviously,
Yeah,
oh, excuse me.
hey, that's okay.
Don't know
Um,
where that came from.
your mouth, well,
Yeah,
your
you're
throat,
right.
technically.
Yeah.
But yeah, very interesting con. They caught me out as well. A lot of conventions have a no outside food policy, which I never listen to. If I've been to your con, I've eaten outside food at your con. Sorry. It's just I can't stand the venues jacking the prices up. So my other half brought me a Burger King midway through the day, and I thought, great, then doing a panel, everybody's attention is diverted to the panel. I start chomping into this XL bacon double cheeseburger because if you go to Burger King, that's what you gotta have. And there isn't a Burger King near here, so whenever I can have a Burger King, I make sure I do. At any rate, chomping into this thing, thinking, yeah, I'm being a sly git. Turns out the Sonic show were live streaming the event, and as they were setting up the panel, decided to focus their goddamn camera on me stuffing my face, so there is video evidence of it.
I did not know this. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the stream now because it's on YouTube. It's all on YouTube, as far as I know.
It is. It's on YouTube. The entire day is
I'm
on
gonna have to
YouTube.
scroll through the whole thing until I find the panel.
It's like a 5 hour video. I
I
did
found my after podcast activities.
yeah, and if any of you are, interested in Nikon but don't know what to expect, we can put a link to that video in here so you can see what the event was like. And if you do miss out on tickets or anything, I believe they're live streaming it again this year. So if you're in the US and you're listening to this, great news! You can still check it out, although if you want to watch it live, bear in mind we're about 8 hours ahead of you. So it's going to be an interesting Friday evening and Saturday morning for you. Um,
Yeah, well, I can't wait for it. It'll be in January if anyone didn't catch that. So make sure you
Yeah.
get on. I'm sure we'll have a link to the Kickstarter and everything in the description if Sam feels like doing it.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I should probably give a list of what conventions I'm going to be at in general, because in case you hadn't heard, I self publish comics. Aside from my day job, I self publish comics. And yeah, it's weird. I see Photoshop all day at work, then I come home and I draw comics in Photoshop using a Wacom tablet. Photoshop gets more attention than my family. So at some point, I should probably provide a list of what conventions I'm at, but I tend to do at least one a month. In fact, October London Comic Con MCM, Richie may be at that. He was going to get back to me on it, but I
And I never
am.
did I?
Yeah, as soon as they release the sellers tables, I'm going to be all over that. The tables go really quickly, so you have to be lucky to get in, but I have been able to get in the last 5 times because they tend to release the tables midday just as I'm getting on lunch break at work. So I sort of check my emails. I was like, it's there, go, go, fill in the form, we're in. Um, if you do go, Richie, though, you'll have to find your own accommodation because I'm now staying with a friend who lives in London on their couch, but it's only a one-bedroom apartment and it's not a big couch, so I'm not sure they'd be able to accommodate you too. I mean, I
don't
can
don't
check.
feel like top and toe in.
We could. I mean, I'm quite happy to do that. We've done that enough times in the past. In all seriousness,
Whoa,
um,
no
we
homo.
no, but like sleepovers and stuff as kids. I mean, I can. The guy I'm staying with is genuinely a good guy, and I can ask him. But yeah. At any rate, where the hell were we on our topic
I
list?
don't know. I don't think we actually talked about games yet, have we?
Well, we talked about Gamescom. We talked about obviously what's going on with Europe. Uh, oh yes, last podcast we talked about the Ouya devs who had the funding matching promise. And then when Razer recently bought Ouya, they told all those devs, hey, the money that was supposed to have been put aside for you, yeah, it doesn't exist. It was never put aside. And it was basically sounding like these people wouldn't get their money. Since then, there has been an update. Razer has turned around and said, okay, we didn't know about Ouya's debts and stuff. The money wasn't there when we bought the company. But we're Razer. We've got our own money. So we will still keep to our word. But there's some new stipulations. So I think one of them is that it doesn't have to be a 6-month exclusive anymore, but the game has to be free on the Ouya. Which, considering the Ouya is an open platform, means it can be very, very easily pirated with not a lot of effort.
Yeah, it all sounds like a bit of a push come to shove kind of thing, though, doesn't it? It doesn't sound like it's something they wanted to do.
It's like you said earlier with the Halo 5 local co-op thing. Oh, there's an outrage. Better revert our policy. You
Yeah, and
know,
that's it's a pretty sad state of affairs that that's how the gaming industry is run these days, isn't it? People try new things, and then the backlash comes back, and then they just go against it, just revert
not
completely,
not
180.
just it's not just the games industry though. Are you familiar with United Breaks Guitars?
No.
No. Okay, basically, musician flew with an airline called United, and basically the baggage handlers were just chucking the luggage as they always do, including his guitar case. So when he gets to his destination, lo and behold, his guitar's broken. And he went back and forth with the company for 9 months on this, saying, look, it's $1,200 to repair this Taylor guitar. And they said no. So he said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a song and I'm going to upload it to YouTube. For some stupid reason, he said he'd do 3 of them, which he admits himself was dumb. Because he's like, crap, now I'm committed to do 3. I should have just said I'll write a song and left it at that. Anyway, the song has something like 15 million views now. Um, Taylor, the guys who actually made the guitar, have given him, I think, 2 free replacements now. His music career has skyrocketed because people have found this United Breaks guitar song, which went viral, and then found all of his other music and ordered CDs and stuff. And United actually said, we will give you a very big payout if you take this video down from YouTube and don't re-upload it. And he was like, I'm earning more on the ad revenue and people discovering my music through the video than I ever would from the payout you'd give me. So No.
That's one of the few times when the little man beats the big man, isn't it? It's nice to see it. It's nice to see it every so often. And it actually reminds me, I don't know if you saw, because it's a bit of a local story, really, I suppose. A
Okay.
similar thing happened to the Puppet Man here in Norwich.
Oh God,
Did you see
yes.
that? Well, actually, it was in Yarmouth it happened, but for
Yeah.
those who don't know, the Puppet Man is a bit of a. He's basically a local celebrity. He's an old man. He's in
He's
his
a
70s.
legend.
I can't remember his real name. It's escaped me.
Dave something, I think.
Yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
right. He's an old man in his 70s who basically stands in the city centre here in Norwich and occasionally in Yarmouth as well. He kind of alternates between the two
He's
with a little.
usually outside Primark in Norwich.
Correct, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think he stands opposite KFC and McDonald's in Yarmouth.
Oh,
Um,
does he? Okay. I've not
yeah, I
seen him
think
in
so.
Yarmouth. I try to avoid that hole as much as possible.
It's not so bad sometimes. If you go at the
Okay.
right time. If you go on a Sunday, it's
Well,
not so bad. Anyway,
my understanding of it is that a local business owner thought he was putting his customers off because his basic thing is he turns the stereo on with all this old music playing, and he sits there and sort of, we say sing, it's more of a mumble along to it while dancing with a sock puppet.
yeah,
Yeah,
basically you're right, yeah.
yeah,
And
that's his whole thing.
most people love him. He, as you say, he's a local celebrity. He's got Facebook pages dedicated to him and all sorts of stuff. He's well known in the city. Let's face it.
Yeah.
For anyone, if you ask anyone in the Norfolk area about the Puppet Man, they'll know exactly who you mean. No question about it.
Oh
But
yeah.
basically, as you were saying, some guy who owns a shop just near where he was performing, if you want to call it that.
Bear in mind, this is the Yarmouth venue, not the Norwich venue. It
Yeah,
wasn't the owners of Primark before we get in any
no,
trouble from them.
no, he didn't take too kindly to what the Puppet Man was doing and his act on that particular day. So he decided to. Well, apparently he first went out and told him that he was ruining the image of the city. And then when that didn't deter him,
Yeah.
he took a glass of water out and poured it on the stereo, subsequently breaking it.
And you know
And
what's hilarious? The guy who broke the stereo bought the guy a replacement and gave it to him the next day. Meanwhile,
apologized as well.
yeah. Meanwhile, the Salvation Army shop in Norwich heard about it, did a whip round, and also bought him a new stereo. And then they had this awkward moment where they sort of presented him with this stereo, not knowing that he'd already been given one.
Yeah, but because of the way social media works, because it hits social media so quickly, the
Hmm.
backlash against the guy, even though he apologized and admitted what he did was wrong, the backlash was just ridiculous. People have been creating pages to boycott his shop. There's been
Oh
horrible
yeah.
messages posted about him, threatening him, all sorts of horrible stuff.
Internet mob rule is getting insane. I mean, look at, for another example that people will actually know about, Cecil the Lion. That guy's had to close his dental practice
Oh,
because of the backlash.
there's no way he won't have to change his identity and move.
I
That is
know,
what
right?
he'll have to do it. He's got no choice.
It's insane just how much. I mean, I can understand what the guy's saying. He's saying he paid a good amount of money to hunt this lion in a game park. He didn't know that that particular lion was protected. Uh,
Allegedly.
Really, he feels it should have been the job of his guide, because they don't just say, here's a gun, go. They send you out with someone. He feels it should have been the job of the guide to go, oh, not that one. That one's off limits.
Yeah,
And
that one's got a collar on.
yeah, but you know what? That argument, actually, fair enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, yeah, I
yeah.
agree.
Like, if I was in his situation, I too would be like, well, that's great and all, but the lion's a local celebrity. I wasn't local. You know, the guy that I paid money to shoot this thing didn't bother mentioning that this thing was goddamn protected. Um, and yeah, I mean, I disagree with the killing of animals for sport in general. However, I can see how that guy was like, yeah, be pissed, but don't be pissed at me.
The only argument with that though is he had been fined or something in the past for hunting endangered animals.
Had
It's
he?
not the first time he's done something like this. Not he's not had the same outcry, but I'm sure
Hmm.
he's done some. I've read he's done something similar to this in the past and got in trouble for it.
Okay, so
So
it's a case of, how many times
his
before
argument
it's.
is questionable, really.
Yeah, okay.
But I don't blame him for playing that card. I'd play exactly the same card if I was him.
Even if you were fully aware, you'd be like, oh, no, 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 no.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, however, that doesn't apply to the internet.
No, definitely not.
The internet doesn't seem to give a damn what the circumstances were. They want this guy's blood. I just think it doesn't allow the proper cogs to turn. I'm uncomfortable with it. Like, if me or you said or did something that was potentially taken out of context, like if someone took a recording from one of our shows, played it without context, and went, "Ah, oh, they're talking about child murderers and saying it's a good thing and they can see their point of view," um, which we're not, by the way. Child murdering is wrong, no matter what the circumstances are. Um, you know, the harassment we could get without, and the repercussions and consequences without a fair trial.
Yeah, well, that's the horror of the internet, isn't it? That's why sort of witch hunts and things like that on the internet always end so badly. You can, I
Mm.
mean, I know we're strayed way off gaming here, but one of the biggest things is sort of like false rape accusations, just to bring it down a level and things like that. You can ruin someone's life with something like that easily.
To a lesser extent, swatting.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah. My friend Eric Gady, the guy I went out to Arizona to visit some years ago, he was doing a show, well, a couple of shows on YouTube, but one of them was called Reviewing a Reviewer. Basically, Encyclopedia Dramatica picked him as one of their targets, as they always do, and they posted a Craigslist thing saying that his kid had died, and he couldn't bear to have anything that reminded him of his kid, so he was giving away all of their video games for free, first come, first served. So he wakes up one morning, there's like a bunch of people at his door asking about free video games. And he's like, what? And they were showing him printouts of this Craigslist posting, because they got his address and stuff, and they just posted this on up there. Um,
scary.
yeah, I know. It was horrible for him. But that's what can happen. That's why earlier when I was like, oh, the exchange that I can walk to, it's in, oh, actually, I'm not going to say the town name. You
Yeah,
know? Yeah. Just because, I'm sorry, but I want to give as few clues as possible.
yeah,
Like,
that's fine. I don't mind saying I'm in Norwich because Norwich is huge.
Norwich is not huge.
It is
Norwich,
compared to where you live, it's huge.
compared to where I live, anything is huge. Your pinky is huge compared to where I live.
Very true.
Anyway, Norwich is only a city because they built two cathedrals. You have to have a cathedral to qualify as a city in the
Still a
UK.
city. Still a city.
Norwich didn't meet the size requirements for a city, but it built two cathedrals, and basically people at that point went, fine, if you're going to just keep building cathedrals until we give you city status, here it is.
And here, and yeah, and we still have it. So it all worked out, didn't
You shouldn't have it. You're not big
it?
enough. You're not. There are towns bigger than Norwich.
Yeah, well, they haven't got cathedrals, so
They should build a cathedral,
yeah,
fine.
exactly.
If you're a town and you're angry about Norwich being a city, build your own damn cathedral. Um, wow, we really got off games, didn't we?
So yeah, going back to the topic list, shall we?
Yeah.
There's one topic you put on there that I actually didn't know was a thing that I'm quite interested to hear about from you because I know you're a bit of an expert on it. RPG Maker. There's a new one.
Oh, Christ, yes. So, big announcement for me because although the engine is commonly looked down upon and seen as baby's first engine, RPG Maker MV has been announced as the new engine. We don't know a lot about it at the moment, other than it will support multiple devices, it will have mobile support, as well as keyboard and mouse input, it will accept touch input, so you can put stuff onto phones and tablets, which will be great. A lot of people have wanted, their RPGs in that format for a while. Fantastic news. There will be free layer mapping, which for RPG Maker fans, that will mean something to them. To put it to you, Richie, there was RPG Maker 2003, right? And the maps you make in that, they're tile based. So you have a sheet that's cut into blocks of 16 pixels by 16 pixels.
Yeah,
Yeah? Each square is one grid tile, and you make your maps through combining these tiles. Yeah,
yeah,
called a tile set. Very, very simple. It's used in other game engines and other elements of game design as well. For example, you still see it in 3D modeling. People do modular 3D modeling where they make everything conform to a unit size. So, like 1 unit by 2 units, whatever. And then when they're making a map, they can just swap things in and out and they build things out of these units. It's the same kind of idea. Um, so before you had a bottom layer, which would appear under the character, and then you had an upper layer, which could appear either on the same level or above the hero. Technically, you could do them below the hero as well, but never mind. And that was it. That was everything you got. Then they brought out RPG Maker XP, which was the next one along, and that had 3 layers. So you had your bottom layer, so you like upper layer 1, and then upper layer 2. And then that went away when they released the next engine along, which was RPG Maker VX and RPG Maker VX Ace, where the damn thing tries to predict what you're trying
Which is
to
what I think
do.
I got that.
You've got that one, have you?
I think I've got. Yeah, I think I've got that one. I think that's the one I have.
Okay, so that one tries to predict what you want to do in terms of what should be on top of the other, and is extremely frustrating to work with. They're saying that MV will return to the 3 layers that we had in RPG Maker XP, which is fantastic news. Along with, naturally, the mobile support, which is also fantastic news. HD resolutions will be supported. Again, fantastic news. They, and this again will only mean something to RPG Maker fans, but there are 2 battle systems that the RPG Maker series has used: a front view battle system and a side view. So a front view battle system is like Dragon Quest. A side view battle system is like a classic Final Fantasy. Richie, does that mean anything to you?
Yes, I do follow.
Yes, you follow. Okay, fantastic. If you're following, then everyone else will be following. I'm
Yeah, you're
I'm
probably right. Yeah,
I'm using you as like a lowest common denominator, and I apologize for that.
I am pretty simple to be fair.
Especially with JRPGs, you've got no knowledge in that area.
No, it's true.
Um, yeah, you've just never found a good one, I think. And I still strongly suggest that you play Final Fantasy IX and Dragon Quest VIII: Journey of the Cursed King.
Yeah,
Um,
Final Fantasy is a series I've always thought I would probably be into if I played it.
yeah, just like I've got like 3 copies of Nine now because I own it. I've got a sealed copy, I've got the copy I play, and then I've got it digitally on PSN. So if you ever want to borrow Final Fantasy IX, just ask. I can send it down. In fact, no, I probably want to hand that over to you in person rather than send it in the post, just in case.
Yeah, don't blame me.
Um, yeah. At any rate, back on topic. So, 95, which was the first RPG Maker, had front view. 2000 had front view. 2003 had side view, which was really, really popular. Then XP went back to front view, and VX and VX Ace followed suit. However, it did add something called Ruby scripting, which allows you to do more traditional sort of programming, line after line. It's a language that you have to learn, it's not C, it's not Java, it's its own thing. If you understand coding, then apparently you can jump around languages pretty easily. I'm not that good of a programmer, so I'm not sure how well that translates across. Richie, you know more about programming. How easy do you find it to jump from one language to another?
Well, I haven't really had to yet. I mean, I've only really
Okay,
sort of learned one language. I'm going to be learning Java this year, though. Starting in October, I'll be learning Java. So I'll let you know.
so the one thing you could have actually been useful for.
Oh, I'm not
In
useful for anything. You know me. You've known me long enough to know I'm not useful for anything.
I have known you 22 years.
That's terrifying. That is.
Yeah, well, apparently, and this will be a fun story for the audience. Um, we first met, and I only know this story secondhand through my mum. We went to the same first school together and the same reception year together. And apparently, your mum approached my mum at the gates of the reception year and said, "Can you tell your son to stop smacking my son round the back of the head?"
Yeah,
Apparently, that was our first interaction. I used to bully you, believe it or not.
how things changed. I got my own back years later, didn't I?
Yeah, I still called you dick at every opportunity, though. Um,
I've
so
still
anyway,
got plenty of incriminating photos of you I could use. I won't. I won't, because I'm a nice guy. But I
I've
could.
got I've got incriminating videos, not just photos. Um, at any rate, let's get away from that before people are like, "Show us, show us, show us," because we're not gonna. Um, People really like the side view battle system. They wanted to put it back in, and to do so, you had to use Ruby scripting. But This is the first age, really, where you can get legal English copies of the RPG makers. Back when I was in high school, it was all hooky illegal translations. Um, cough, cough. So people can actually sell their games, and they have the licenses to sell these games. And they do. They're on the Steam store. You can find a fair few of them for sale, and some of them are legitimately really good. I should probably do, like, not in a podcast setting, but on my own solo channel. I should probably talk at some point about the really good RPG Maker games so that you can see what's possible in those engines. Um, people see it as babies first. It's because it's a what you see is what you get editor. It's very intuitive. It's very easy to pick up and learn. The barrier to entry is incredibly low. Anyone can make an RPG tomorrow with no prior knowledge using the RPG Maker series. Richie has had some experience with the RPG Maker series before. I showed him how to make a Zelda style battle system in RPG Maker 2003, which was supposedly advanced techniques. I still don't think it was.
Yeah, I
And it,
forgot about that.
yeah, but you followed along perfectly well. You were able to replicate it, make more maps, add new enemy types very, very easily.
Oh yeah, it's all extremely easy. Yeah, if you want to
Yeah,
make games and you don't want to have to sit and learn sort of years and years of game development, then it's definitely the way to go.
yeah, but the barrier to entry being incredibly low also means that some absolute shit is made in it. And a lot of fan games are made in it. And there are a lot of things, where 13-year-olds get hold of it and throw something out on the internet, and it's god awful. I know if I look back at some of my old projects, I go, oh god, what was I thinking? I was 12 or 13. I was thinking about anime and boobs, and it's very evident, you know?
Has anything changed?
Uh, Good question. No.
But I mean, you say that about sort of loads of crap being produced, but I think you could probably say the same thing about things like Unity. You can quite easily make a piece of crap in Unity and put it on Steam quite easily.
People don't realize what's been made in Unity that's been really, really good. Grow Home was Unity. Oddworld New and Tasty was Unity. I think, and I need to double check this, but I think No Man's Sky might be Unity.
I'm pretty
Um,
sure Killing Floor 2 was possibly made in Unity.
Surgeon Simulator is Unity.
Yes, very true, yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot more games than people seem to realize which are Unity based. In fact, my Game Design and Theory Season 2 Episode 1 video, Tools of the Trade, talks about the engines that you can use to make your own video games, and I'm plugging again, I apologize. But it talks about, there is a section about Unity, and I list 3 or 4 games that were made with Unity. Game Maker is another engine which has a very similar problem. A lot of people use it for like Sonic fan games and stuff, so it's not got a great reputation. But Hotline Miami was made in Game Maker. Spelunky was made in Game Maker. You know, if you actually look under the hood, some really good. The important thing to remember is it's not the engine, it's the
Yeah, well, the
developer.
the best ones you can't usually tell they've been made in something like that. Like
Yeah,
Killing Floor 2, I never would have guessed been made in Unity because Unity is kind of like it's like the step up from RPG Maker. It's like the introduction to basic game making, essentially.
yeah, I guess I can follow that. Yeah, all right, I'll give you that.
I'm not
RPG
I'm
Maker
not
to
dissing on
Unity.
Unity because, as you say, some fantastic things have been made in it, but it is sort of like because there's so many tutorials for it, and it is quite handheld, really. And I
Hmm.
know there's you can get very in depth with it,
It was like
but
you've
it's
downloaded Unity, you've had a fiddle with it.
I've played around with it and I quite enjoyed it. I did a couple of the tutorials and I thought, yeah, I could do this, and then my procrastination set in and I never did.
I made a
But
fully functional FPS prototype in 3 hours with no programming knowledge.
yeah, I mean, it's can be done. There's the thousands of tutorials out there, and there's loads built into the actual engine itself. So if there's anyone out there who does want to sort of play around with building games, then Unity is definitely a great place to start if you don't fancy RPG Maker.
Yeah, and check out my Game Design and Theory series because, on a
And start
serious
there,
note,
yes, start there.
yeah, there's a season 1 already available, even though it's only 5 episodes. But it's a British season 1, and we only ever do about 6 episodes a season. If you look at like Only Fools and Horses and pretty much everything else that's ever come out of Britain, IT Crowd is about 6 episodes a season. Um, any rate, season 2, we've started off by looking at tools of the trade. It's a much more practical season. Like season 1 was very, I'm looking for the word. Richie, help me with the word.
I don't know what word you're looking for.
It begins with a C. We used to have
Cock?
this. No.
You,
Um,
wait,
I'm
you might have done.
I'm not looking for cock. We had during uni we had this all the time. It was C then studies, critical studies, contextual studies. It's all about the theory and the idealism rather than the actual practicality. So it talks a lot about that in season one, but season two is a lot more practical. As I say, episode one is up now, talking about the tools you can download for 3D modeling, engines, 2D sprite art, pretty much anything you could need really, apart from music, because I don't know a damn thing about creating music. Um, and episode 2, which is on the way, I've pretty much promised to do one game design in theory a month. Episode 2 talks about variables. Now, as Richie will tell you, if you want to make anything, coding or none, you have to know how variables work.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and a practical session is the best way to learn how variables work. Agreed?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Trial and error is the key.
Yeah, I think if you try to explain the concept of variables to someone, and I've had this at work because we have to use them in my day job, which, again, I'm limited in what I can talk about, but people don't get, like, if statements at work. They don't get, tracking things through variables. The things that they can be used for, like, the possibilities are endless, and it's going to be a really nice tutorial about having a four players going around a board, basically. It teaches you how to get the dice roll, how to use the dice roll to decide how many places the character has to move. Tells you how to then figure out what X and Y coordinate you need to move them to, and all the rest of it. Um, it's again, it's a shameless plug, but it's very relevant. I would say overall, be very excited for RPG Maker MV. Go grab some of the existing editors. They're on Steam. They're really cheap. They are insanely cheap. Like RPG Maker XP is 18.99.
Well,
Um,
I picked up my one on a Humble bundle, and I got it for like £3. So
oh, you did the game dev in Humble Bundle where they gave like 90% off codes for pretty much every RPG Maker ever.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. But I only got the one version out of it because I didn't think I'd need the others. I wasn't too
Get the
bothered about.
others just to see the evolution. I think you'll have a lot of fun in the others, mate.
All right, fair enough.
And for the couple of quid it's going to cost you, worth it.
What have I got to lose?
A fiver. It's. I think you'll spend a lot of hours not even necessarily releasing anything, but you will tinker if I know you as well as I think I do.
Yeah, that is my thing, isn't it?
Yeah, you tinker with something, you start to get something half good, and then you never follow up on it.
Story of my life, that is.
I'm amazed you've been following through with the podcast week after week.
Do you know what? So am I. But I'm really proud of myself that I have.
This is the most consistent that Richie has ever been with any endeavour.
Apart from this and my Open University course, the two things I've managed to stick to.
Yeah. Oh, and your other half.
And Sophie, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
That's been a lot longer than the others. So
The only other thing as well is if we do make any games anytime soon, I'm working on Rogue Wings in Unity, and I want to start a project in RPG Maker. I was actually working on something in VXAce earlier this week, and then the announcement for MV came, and I don't know whether to continue or whether to just wait for MV. There's no word on how long MV will take yet, so I'm very in between on that. But if we do release anything, we'll now be able to release them in China, because China finally lifted even its ban on video game console sales.
yeah, but the ban was only like an official thing, wasn't it? I saw some articles that said, to be honest, you've always been able to get them. It's just never been officially legal. Like people have always had them and always will, but now you can sort of advertise that you sell them and you own them
Well,
and stuff like that.
it's like when America banned alcohol. Everyone still had it. You
Yeah, it's one
can't.
of these things you can't ban something outright. People will always find a way.
Yeah. So they've had them, but now they have them with an air of legitimacy.
Yeah, and
They're not.
isn't it just foreign consoles? Am I got that right, or is it all consoles?
I know it affects the Wii U, the Xbox One, and the PlayStation 4. I think I would need to double check that.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna
I
double
can't
check
see
it.
them being really specific and being like, "Oh, you just bought an old Mega Drive at a car boot. That should have been destroyed."
Well, not anymore.
Yeah,
They can't now.
exactly. What would be the point if you're going to allow one video game console? Just allow all of them.
It is a good
Um,
thing though because it's a very, very big market for the companies to break into, especially for companies who might be struggling, like say Nintendo, who
I
do
don't
quite
think
generally
Nintendo's
do
struggling.
well. They're not struggling, but they're not doing as well as they could be. They're not
Hmm,
getting the sales they could in like the Western market, and generally the Japanese Asian market is where they do well
true.
because they're a big company there. So maybe having that extra 1 billion people or whatever it is might help them sell a few more Wii
But
U's.
don't, and forgive me if I'm like politically behind the times or something, but don't Japan and China kind of hate each other?
I think that's I think it's one of these things that's sort of like a problem with older people. I don't think the younger generation are so bothered about that.
Well, with the internet and everything else connecting the entire world, I don't give a damn where someone's from, you know?
Yeah, I think it's just one of the things. I think it's a bit like older people not being fan of coloured people in the West and things like that. It's not such a big deal anymore.
Yeah, I think we just get exposed to a lot more. Like, American music, Japanese music, British music. Who cares anymore? We get to listen to all of it, so
We're becoming a much more free and I suppose more culturally understanding and more culturally what's the word I'm looking for? I'm
diverse.
doing it now. There you go. Diverse is the good word.
Yeah.
Yeah, than we ever have been before. As you say, the internet and sort of travel and being able to fly across the world really quickly on planes has just completely changed everything.
Even if
Ra-
it's really shitty internet.
Racism is just so hard to justify these days because we're all so mixed. I mean,
It is.
China is one of these countries where, I mean, when we had Vinny on, he talked about how Asia and sort of Japan, especially, don't necessarily agree with foreigners. But he even stated that that was more the elderly people, it was more the older people who didn't approve of him.
Yeah, he said that the younger people he'd encountered were more just curious than anything else.
So I think that it's probably going to be all right.
Yeah.
I think Japan and China probably aren't as bad as we think. I think it's probably just one of these media things.
Yeah, probably one of those things that's blown way out of
Fox
proportion and
News.
you've been foxed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, which is awesome. I think hooray for them, and I look forward to. We might actually see some games coming out of China, which would be very interesting. Like they've got a lot of mythology and stuff that they could draw upon. We could get some really interesting games just out of their culture because we've not really seen anything from them before.
Yeah, that's a very interesting idea. I hadn't considered that actually.
Yeah.
That'll be very interesting to see if sort of maybe a big Chinese developer emerges. It's not like they haven't got the resources or the people to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at just old Chinese, mythological tale, Journey to the West. You look at how many things that's already influenced. Capcom's Sun character is basically Son Goku from Journey to the West. Obviously, you can't say Son Goku without mentioning Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball would not have happened without that ancient Chinese legend. Um, Enslaved Odyssey to the West. Very good, very underrated PS3, Xbox 360 video game. Seriously, go play it. Enslaved is freaking awesome, even if the ending's a bit of a letdown. It kind of like feels like they ran out of time and budget and just shipped the game, but everything up to that point is amazing. Enslaved Odyssey to the West would not have happened without Journey to the West. So, I'm looking to see what else we get out of them.
Yeah, I was just looking up the reason that the video game consoles were banned to begin with. Did you actually know what the reason was?
No idea. Enlighten me.
The announcement eases a sales ban imposed in 2000 due to concern Chinese children would waste time playing video games.
That's
Is
it.
that not the whole point of video games?
I'm teaching. I'm teaching my kids how to play now, just to keep them quiet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, isn't that what they're for?
Like
That's why they exist.
my daughter recognizes Sonic and Rayman already. She recognizes Batman everywhere we go. You'll just be walking down the high street. Daddy, Daddy, Batman, Batman! Who gets really excited for him.
It's obviously one of these legislations that was brought in by a group of stuffy old people sitting in a room with nothing better to do.
I'll tell you one she said in the car this morning that melted my heart. We got in the car, driving to my day job, and she turns around and she goes, Daddy, we in the car? Yes, we are. We go fast. Yeah, like Sonic. It's just like a bravo moment. You can't
Did
be
you get
prouder of your kid.
did you get like a single tear rolling down your cheek
Not quite, not quite, but close, damn close. Um,
I think you've done well with her so far. Then
yeah, well, you've met her. She's a
you've
good
raised
kid.
her right. Yeah, no, she's a lovely little girl.
Grayson was just sort of like he was just fumbling about last time you met him, but he was only a few months old. He's a bit bigger now. You'll see when you come down next.
Yeah,
But
can't wait to see him again. That'd be great.
yeah, don't leave it till January. By the way, we've got more than enough space. Come down sometime between now and January as well.
I would love
Um,
to, but I don't know if I've got any holiday left. I still need to check that out.
yeah, check that out because you were going to check that for October MCM, and you still haven't.
No, I know.
This is what I
If
mean about Richie not following through on anything when I was talking about RPG Maker and stuff. He's one of these guys who, if I was the kind of person who didn't bother with people who didn't text me back, we would have never been friends.
I'm a lot better now than I used to be.
Yeah, but it was always, I had to go around your house. You wouldn't come to me because you'd forget to.
Yeah, but that's because I knew you'd turn up eventually. I didn't need to bother.
You bastard.
But just leave the door unlocked. You'd eventually find your way in.
I had a key. You didn't even need to leave it unlocked.
No, that's true. Actually, I forgot that. Yeah.
Yeah, I might even have that key still somewhere because I don't
Oh,
recall giving it back.
better change the locks then.
Yeah, and fast. No, so we've got a couple more things to finish off, and I'm looking at time. So first of all is what we've been playing this week, which I think I've already covered. Rocket League. A lot of Rocket League.
And I think I kind of covered as well, because you mentioned it a bit earlier on that I'm still playing Batman Arkham Asylum. And we were
You've
going to
seen
talk about.
Scarecrow now,
I've
right?
seen Scarecrow. What a weird sequence of events that is. I
How
really,
awesome is it though?
I really enjoyed it actually. It was really good fun. And I don't know anything about the Batman universe, so I don't know who Scarecrow is, which even made it even more terrifying. I was just like, I don't know what this thing is and why it's completely warping the world, but I want it to end.
But at the same time, you don't want it to
Oh
end.
yeah, it was really good fun. It was. I like the whole hide and seek thing and blowing up the wall, and that was
I
all
can
really
tell
good.
you this: there is more than one Scarecrow section.
Oh, fantastic! I can't wait.
Yeah, I think there are three in total.
The last thing I did in it was that fight with Bane,
Oh god, yeah, the
and you have to
classic
you pull
big
the poison
charging
vials.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the Tomb Raider T Rex.
Don't mention the Tomb Raider Anniversary T-Rex, Richie. Don't
Bit of a sore spot, is it?
I talked about it for like 3 minutes straight in my Tomb Raider remade, repackaged, rebooted video.
Yeah, I
If you
know.
want to know my opinion, go watch that. Plug, plug. I'm not going to get into it again here because I will get genuinely angry.
The only other thing I have been playing, is I've been playing a bit more Surgeon Simulator as well because that's quite fun. Which me and James, who I had a special guest on recently, who was on the podcast, was it last week, week before?
The one who
Um,
unfortunately didn't get to say a lot because A, his mic kept breaking, and
yeah,
B, we just didn't give him much chance, poor bastard.
yeah, we did a co-op on Surgeon Simulator, which is up on my channel. I'm sure Sam will very kindly give me a link to that.
Yeah, dude, I nearly laughed to tears watching that. I think what's hilarious about it is that everything that can go wrong does go wrong.
It's such a fun game, and I think one of the reasons it works so well is I kind of knew what I was doing, and he didn't know what he was doing at all. And between us, it was kind of like a not even a half-assed job. It was like a quarter-assed job.
And the thing is, you're so blasé about everything that happens. You're typical British deadpan throughout the entire thing. You're like, oh, there's the drill in his eye. It's a good thing we don't need that. You know, it's where's the saw? There's the saw. Oh no, we've stabbed ourselves.
There is there is one moment in that video where the sword disappears. I genuinely, I watched it back. I watched the video back after I uploaded it to try and
Oh,
figure
yeah,
out where it went, and I genuinely don't know where it went.
you sort of like just toss it to one side, and then you're like, wait, what?
And it
Where's
just
it?
it
Where's it gone?
physically disappeared. It just I still don't know. But
I
you should
think it just
go
went
and
off
check out that
camera.
video. It was funny. It's very funny.
All right. So question of the week. Which I, yeah, maybe never need to sing again.
Oh, I
Um,
think we should get an official jingle. I think you should record after the podcast. Record that, and you can play the jingle in.
I'm
That'd
not
be good.
doing extra editing.
Are we doing your question or fan questions?
My question then fan questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Favorite co-op game.
Uh, favorite co-op game. Do you want to do yours first while I think?
I'm torn, as usual, because I actually get time to think about these things ahead. Streets of Rage 1 is a contender.
Yeah,
Um,
good shout.
Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck in World of Illusion is a contender. And the third and final contender is Portal 2, which I completed with my other half. And anyone who ever needs marriage counselling, I'm just going to give them a copy of Portal 2.
Oh yeah, it brings out the arguments, doesn't
Oh,
it?
yeah. No, shoot at that wall. Okay, no, now you're looking at the floor. Okay, that's the ceiling. Now you're just spinning on the spot. That would be strafing. No, the wall. The wall. Yeah, over there. That wall. Okay. You know how you've got two different coloured portals? That's the wrong colour portal. You gotta go back over there and set your other portal up now. Why? Because you done fucked up. That was pretty much the entire run.
Right, well, I've come up with three I think I'm going to go for.
Oh, free for free. I like this.
Yeah, I can't really pick just one. I'm going to say one we've talked about many, many times, Die Hard Arcade. Not necessarily the best game ever, but
And the
has,
sequel Dynamite Cop.
yeah, is a fantastic fun game. And at the very end of it, if you're playing on co-op, you have to fight each other to the death to decide a winner. Who made that decision?
The
Um,
same people who made Streets of Rage, because
yeah,
you can
fair
do the
play,
exact same thing in that. That's one of the
fair play.
reasons. Yeah.
Okay, number two, Rainbow Six Vegas 2
Oh, terrorist
for the
hunting,
terrorist hunts and things
yes.
like that. Many, many hours spent on that. Probably many more to come.
You've got that on Steam, right?
No, I haven't actually. I haven't
Ah,
got
you
it
need
yet.
to. It's like
Need
two
to.
quid. The
Yeah, need to.
PlayStation 3 version is incredibly laggy. It's one of the games I rebought when I got my PS3. Does not run well at all on the PS3, so I've bought it again on Steam. So if you
That's
grab the
yeah.
Steam one, we can co-op.
All right, cool. And then
Yeah.
number three, it's a bit hard to pick one out of the series. Well, I could probably go with four. Actually, I could probably then make it up to four games. I'm going to say the Army of Two series.
Good choice. Very good
Really, really
choice.
good fun games. Played through all of them. I played through all of them with James. We played through every single one of them together and had a blast playing all of them. And
Yeah.
then I'm going to go for number four. I know you asked me for just one, but I'm going to go off on one. Number four, Gears of War.
Okay. I was half expecting either a Halo or a Rock Band, because technically you can co-op Rock Band.
Yeah, I suppose so. I suppose you can call it a co-op.
Yeah, we'll allow that.
All right, then
Um,
Rock Band. Oh, the whole Rock Band series. There we go. And
oh,
Guitar
Rock
Hero,
Band.
and Guitar Hero 1, 2, and 3, but nothing after that.
Oh, not even Guitar Hero Rocks the '80s on the PS2. That's like the best one.
All right, nothing after Guitar Hero 3.
Okay, fair enough. Um, wow, that was a lot. Did you know they've put a co-op mode in the remake of Abe's Odyssey?
No, I didn't know that. How does that work? Surely that doesn't work.
It's like player one go, and then when they die, player two goes, and you sort of take it in turns. It's almost like seeing who can get through first.
But is it like joint progress, or does everything reset if you die?
No, and it's been a long time since I played this. I think it might have been when you were around actually last. Yeah, it was. You were around and you played this with me. It was tracking the progress separately, if my memory serves me right.
Uh,
Yeah, so player two would start from wherever player two last died, and same for player one. So you were separate in that regard.
right, got
Um,
it.
yes, it's more a versus than a co-op, I guess.
Yeah,
So what are the fan questions? I'm assuming they're courtesy of Kashoro Guy again.
yeah, correct as always. So much appreciated for those. Thank you as always.
If
Very
anyone does want to submit some questions, please, I'm more than happy answering Kashoro Guy's questions each week because they're damn good questions. But if anyone else wants to jump in, please feel free to.
Yeah, if anyone wants to know Terry's answers to the questions, he has actually already answered them on last week's podcast comments. If you want to go and have a look
The comments on the copy of the video that's on my solo
on,
channel, not
yes,
the group
sorry, yeah,
channel. Yeah,
yeah, on your
yeah.
channel, not the group
Because
channel.
I feel really bad because you like look at the view counts on the solo channel uploads, and because people haven't rewatched the ones I've already seen when we've put them back on the group channel, all the ones on the group channel show like 0 views.
Yeah, give it time, give it time. Once we're big and famous and doing our panels, people will go back and listen.
Once we're doing not just panels, but the British Gaming Con, an entire convention. And we will run not the Nintendo World Championships, no, the Sega World Championships.
Sounds good. Right, should we move on to some questions?
Yeah, sure.
Question one. What are some of your favourite games that cost a pretty penny or that are really hard to find?
Um, this is easy. Shenmue 1 and 2. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That was really expensive, and then the PSN version came out, and it got dirt cheap because people were like, I don't care about collecting it or having a copy on the shelf, I care about playing it. But then licensing issues and various other things, it got pulled from PSN, and the price went back up. Also, all of those are Dreamcast games, all three of them. Trying to think, do I really have many expensive games? I guess Final Fantasy IX. That's like the 20 to £30 if you want to. For used games, that's still kind of pricey, I guess. I mean, what would you determine expensive, Richie?
I don't know, really. I suppose anything that kind of exceeds the value it would have done maybe when it was first released.
Not many games manage to do that. Like Shenmue
Yeah,
manages to do that, but not many. Because
quite a
like
hard question, really.
yeah, like I'm thinking my Sonic Generations limited edition. That I bought for 80, and that went up to 300 when it was new out. Then I think it settled somewhere around the 150 to 200 mark, but you can still get the game for like a tenner if you want just the game, and that's the important part, really. The same for like my Arkham Knight Statue Edition. You know, you can if you want it, the statue edition, you can get it for about 90 quid. But if you just want to play the game, then you can get the game for a reasonable price. Plus, it's still a new release, so I can't really say it costs a pretty penny yet. Um,
The problem I have with this question is that most of the games I can think of are probably hard to find, but can be emulated quite easily these days. So, like, I was
yeah.
thinking the first place I went to was sort of like PlayStation 1 era, and I was thinking, do you remember Cooler World?
Oh, yeah!
That is a fun game, and I have that on my PC downstairs on a PlayStation 1 emulator, and it is so much fun. It's such a basic game. It's just you're a ball and you collect things, but
On the
it's
note of
probably quite hard to
Cooler World,
find.
do you remember Glover?
Clever. No, I don't. What was that?
You play as a glove, but there's a lot you have to sort of run around on balls a fair bit in that too. I
Oh
think,
yeah, I know what you
yeah,
mean. I know what you mean. Was it on
ah, good.
the N64?
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think I ever owned that, but I know the game you mean.
Okay. I think the ones that generally get expensive tend to be JRPGs. Um, so, like, I've got Final Fantasy Origins, Final Fantasy Anthology, and Final Fantasy VI all on the PlayStation 1. They would cost me a lot more to buy now than they did at the time I bought them. I'm trying to think what else I've got really that's gone up because not many things tend to go up in value. Vagrant Story. I've got that on PS1. That tends to be you have to pay a little more if you want that. The original Soul Blade seems to be going up recently. That was like a £5 to £6 game for the longest time, and now I'm seeing Soul Blade at like 20 to 30. And I don't know if it's because everyone just suddenly realized it was the original Soul Calibur game. Um,
No, I don't know.
yeah. Tiny Toon Adventures Buster's Hidden Treasure. That, for some reason, seems to be expensive at times, but that one's up and down. Sparkster on the Mega Drive. That I was lucky with mine. I scored mine for about 15 quid, but I see it going for considerably more than 15 quid a lot of the time. I've still got my boxed with manual Sonic and Knuckles. That can be like a car only Sonic and Knuckles is cheap, but because they released in that horrible cardboard box and none of them survived
No.
really. No, let's be blunt. So that tends to be a little bit more if you've still got the box. Sonic CD for that matter. Like I got lucky again with that in that someone who was packaging in their Sonic CD with their Mega CD, so a lot of people missed it that auction and I won it. But I got it for about 20, including the Mega CD, which is an absolute steal. You would expect to pay more than that, especially if you're getting the hardware to play it on too.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't really have anything else to add to this question, unfortunately. I don't really have sort of many hard to find games.
Well, I can talk about expensive games I want, but will never get because of the expense.
I don't think we have the time for that. Maybe
Okay.
next time. We'll bring that up next time, shall we?
Yeah, we'll save. We'll park that. We'll park that.
Right.
Next question.
Question two. How tall are all of you?
Um, about 5'11", 6 foot, somewhere around there. I haven't got
Yeah,
myself properly measured in a while.
I think I'm about 5'9", maybe 5'8". I'm not sure exactly. I haven't measured
You
myself in a
are a
long time.
little shorter than me, but not by a
Yeah,
lot. Yeah.
yeah, a couple of inches, I'd say.
I think Terry might be an inch shorter than me too.
Terry's put on his answer. He's put I'm about 5'11", maybe 5'10".
Yeah, I think he's closer to the 5'10".
Yeah, I think I'm probably
Yeah.
closer to 5'9" than anything. So let's call it that.
All right, Richie's a short ass, if that's what you want to know.
Yeah, I'm the short. I'm the shortest one of the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Question three. What are some of the funniest gaming experiences you have all had so far?
Um, I want to talk about one of them, but without spoilers for Richie. And that would be my uni housemate's reaction to one of the Scarecrow moments in Arkham Asylum. And if you're listening and you've played Arkham Asylum, you know exactly which one I'm referring to. Um, and yeah, he was shouting and swearing and not waiting to see what was going on, but resetting the game every time it happened, and he thought his game was broke. Um, so
Oh,
there was,
this sounds like it's gonna fuck me up.
yeah, it really is. It's gonna catch you out. And it was hilarious just his reaction because he kept resetting and not letting it play out. He never got past it, and he was a northerner too, so it was just like all this really broad northern accent, just swearing. And this guy, you met him, Richie. He had a talent for swearing. Like he could just string swear words together in these really long sentences, and it just flowed so naturally. Um, Him actually doing the same thing in Minecraft when he built a house out of wood. He had fire torches on the walls, and then he tried to delete one of the fire torches, messed it up, and set his entire house on fire.
Ah, we've all done that.
Yeah, that was a lot of swearing. Um, Civilization 4, me, the same housemate, and Eric Gady, we were playing a group match. And I privately messaged my housemate Adam and said, "Meet me at this point in the map, and both of us will take out Eric together. He's getting too big for his boots." Sent the same message to Eric saying we'd take out Adam. So Eric and Adam meet in the middle of the map. And while they're confused, I've got my armies going at their capitals, knowing they emptied their armies out to go meet with me. So their cities are completely undefended, and I'm just there destroying them. And the amount of abuse I'm getting through my headset. Adam was playing in another room. He was in his bedroom. I heard him throw something. I don't know if it was his monitor, his tower, or what, but something made a big bang. And then he came storming down the stairs and started yelling at me in person.
Oh,
Uh,
that sounds
he
about right.
he kept that up for about 4 days. He was just any time I said something to him, I was like, "Oh, I'm doing the washing up. You got anything that needs doing?" It was just like, "Yeah, I've got some cups and plates you can do. They're at this point of the map. Go meet me there." Just being really fucking petty. And then probably the final one would be our reaction the first time we saw the headless Croc glitch in the Sega Saturn version of Croc.
Yeah, good answer. Good
Yeah.
answer. That
If you
was
don't
pretty
know
funny.
what that
Still is
is,
funny.
go look at my top 10 hidden gems of video games. I talk about the Croc headless glitch in there for a bit when I'm talking about Croc. And there's
All
video
right.
footage of it so you can see it.
Yeah, my answer to this question. I've had a little time to think about it. Let's face it. Um,
Are you trying to say I ramble?
probably funniest. Probably I'm gonna go back to playing Rock Band. All the times I've played Rock Band, hearing people try to sing the songs, not knowing the words, getting everything wrong, then listening to myself try and sing and then having to listen to it back. All pretty embarrassing.
Mm. Um, Also, I'd like to add to mine every bloody 5 seconds from my Sonic 1 race with Terry. It started as a disaster for me, and that run continued to be a disaster.
The only other one I'd probably throw in is I used to have some people around. We used to play Halo 3 multiplayer, but all on like split screen, playing
Yeah.
Infection, hours and hours of Infection. Oh,
You succumbed to mine as well when I was in uni.
hysterics.
We used to do this thing where, like, Friday afternoon, we'd get out of our final lectures. We had the biggest living room out of our uni course, and you'd get like 16 guys with like 16 TVs and 16 Xboxes walking into our living room, and we would set up and we would still be playing on the Monday afternoon. The Domino's guys, we didn't even need to speak. We just like picked up the phone and they knew our order. But Richie, you got in on a few of those, and
Yeah,
there was what was the map called? Where it's like it's several layers. It's all encompassed in like a spear, and on the top layer of the map, there's the one platform that stretches really far out.
I couldn't tell you the name of it. I know the one you mean, but I couldn't tell you the name of it.
Yeah, there's like you can either there's a door in with a little drop onto the platform, or you can like there's two little side doors where you can come in onto the platform. Anyway, we'd start an infection map, and we would all of us bundle at the end of this one little strip, knowing that's the only route the zombie can take to get to us. And as soon as the zombie turned up, we'd just open fire, and eventually, like he'd get one or two people. And as the zombies started increasing, you'd see people like shooting and shooting. And then as soon as the zombies got too close, they'd just start jumping off the edge of the platform, knowing they'd land on a lower part of the map.
Yeah, so many good times. Right, we're running out of time. We probably should move on.
Every single one of our Sonic races as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
What? Question four. What are some of your most memorable gaming experiences? I think we probably just covered that in the previous question.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, the Arkham Asylum moment. Um, yeah, I think we're just going to merge those two questions into one for the sake of time. I apologize, Kashoro, but yeah, they're too similar.
I mean, just to sum it up, I think what it comes down to for me is memorable gaming experiences is generally moments I've shared with other people more than on my own.
Agreed.
Okay, cool. Right, question five. And this is a little bit of a straying away from gaming, so it'll be quite interesting to what you have to say to this one.
Uh
Do any of you have any advice for dating either singular or multiple parties? And he goes on to say, P.S. I'm not asking this because I may or may not be in love with someone. I'm just asking for those who are too shy to ask.
I see. He's got a friend who has a problem.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he's got a
Yes.
friend who likes someone, doesn't know what to tell them. Can we help?
Friend in quotation marks.
So come on, Dr. Sam. What do you suggest?
um, well, you will attest to the fact that for a lot of years I was absolutely useless with women. Um,
I won't say anything.
I was a prat. Um, for some reason, at one point, I thought a good way to get a girl's attention would be to microwave a tub of ice cream so it would melt a bit, and then tip it over my own head.
Do you know what? When we were talking earlier about embarrassing photos, that's exactly what I was going to say and then didn't. So
You've still
I'm
got that
glad you
photo.
I'm glad Oh yeah, of course I have. I'm glad you brought them up.
And another brilliant idea was to ask a girl out while Richie and a couple of his friends were trapping my torso. I was standing on one side of a door, my head was on the other side of the door, and Richie and his friends were crushing the door against my chest. Um,
Oh, you makes it
and I,
sound awful looking back. I do apologize.
you better do. I thought that would be a brilliant time to ask. Uh, Surprisingly, no, not a brilliant time. I honestly found someone when I stopped trying. Um,
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, like I went to MCM and it was I remember the date. This is how sad. 24th Friday the 24th of October 2008. Two friends of mine at uni were like, we've just had our student loans. Your rent and that is covered by your part-time job. Come to Comic Con with us. So I went and we had some people sharing. We'd hired out like an apartment instead of just a hotel room. And we had a couple of people like kipping on the floor, random internet people that I'd never spoken to. Um, and yeah, she turned up. We got along. By the end of the weekend, we had a long distance relationship. I wasn't looking for anybody, she wasn't looking for anybody, and I think the lack of trying is what actually finally made me succeed, and it is now sort of 7 years later, and we've had two kids together, and yeah, it's which also confirms that yes, I have been with one person and one person only, and I intend to keep it that way.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, a lot of people do. It's a great story. It's really good. You deserved it in the end. After all you went through, you deserved it. So
You mean after what you put me through, you bastard?
you can't blame me 100% for everything you did.
I was an awkward autistic kid. I learned from my mistakes.
Yeah.
My answer is if you want to meet someone, go to Comic Con.
Yeah. I think the best advice I can give more than anything, as much like you said, is it's just not trying too hard.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. I've done it as well. I've been not quite as bad as you, Sam, but
Mm.
I've been that guy as well. I've been the trying a bit too hard, not leaving them alone when they obviously space is obviously the best thing to
Mm.
do.
You've
Um,
also, if you don't mind me saying, made some pretty poor choices with who you have gone out with at times.
yeah, but let's not dwell on that.
No.
I have to say though, I don't have any advice for dating multiple parties. I can't say I've ever done that, and I wouldn't know where to start with that.
I can repeat something my dad told me about dating multiple parties.
Go for it.
He said, if you have a birthday party, pick one, or have three birthday parties.
Sounds like a sensible piece of advice.
Yeah, which tells you everything you need to know about my dad, really.
It's another
uh,
topic we won't cover.
no, I need a therapist's couch to properly cover the topic of my father. Um, but no, he's a good guy. He's just oblivious to the damage he can do sometimes. Um, Completely unintentional, I think. But yeah, just don't be a creep. Don't be really clingy. Just don't be that guy. Does that make sense when I say don't be that guy?
Yeah, if it's one of these things that if it's meant to be, it will find a way.
Yeah, it'll
You'll find
happen.
a way. If
Uh,
it's right, it'll all come together eventually. It may take a while, but just be patient.
and we know
These
it's
these things
cliche.
these things
We
don't happen overnight.
we know it's cliche advice. We know you've heard it a million times over. But the fact that you've heard it a million times over means that there's probably some damn truth to it.
Yeah, there's probably some merit to that advice.
Yeah. Do we have any more for any more?
No, that was the last question actually.
Oh, okay, that was it. Right, well, I believe that brings us then to the end of this week's podcast, which will be Thursday, probably when you're listening to it, and Tuesday for us. But yeah, thank you very much for listening. Please do keep the questions coming in. Make sure you're subscribed to the new channel to keep getting the latest podcasts, and enjoy your evenings, or afternoons, or mornings, or whatever time you happen to be listening.
Take care.